In Venezuela, President Nicolas Maduro accused the United States of violating the 1967 Tlatelolco Treaty, which declares Latin America and the Caribbean as zones free of nuclear weapons. The director of U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, Susan Monares, has been fired after less than a month in the job. And the United Nations warned that Palestinian children continue to be deprived of the right to education since the escalation of the Israeli aggression in October of 2023. Hello and welcome to From the South. My name is Belén de los Santos. I'm from the teleSUR studios in Havana, Cuba. We'll begin with the news. We now begin with the information. We were saying it before. In Venezuela, President Nicolas Maduro accused the United States of violating the 1967 Tlatelolco Treaty, which declares Latin America and the Caribbean as a zone free of nuclear weapons. The head of state warned the international community about Washington's aggressive actions and said that they undermine the peace of Latin America and the Caribbean. Maduro also affirmed that Venezuela will not accept any supremacist attitude from anyone nor any interference in the region. The head of state praised the international solidarity with Venezuela and highlighted in contrast the isolation of the U.S. government's aggressive policy.
Venezuela, aquí en Sudamérica, territorio de paz.
Venezuela, here in South America, a land of peace, and with great goals with Africa, Europe, Eurasia, Asia, etc. Venezuela is a country admired in the world, loved in the world, not only by governments, which are showing an impressive example of solidarity toward us, especially now after Venezuela was threatened with a nuclear submarine, violating the Tlatelolco Treaty, which prohibits the mobilization, use, and manufacture of nuclear weapons in Latin America and the Caribbean. Venezuela is receiving an impressive example of global solidarity.
And the Venezuelan Ministry of Defense announced the results of the operations of the Bolivarian National Armed Forces in response to U.S. aggression against the country. Defense Minister Vladimir Padrino Lopez highlighted the people's response to President Nicolas Maduro's call to arms in defense of their homeland. He also described the day as a success in the face of the media counter-revolution, which creates lies with the aims of making people believe that the country functions as a narco-state. Padrino Lopez emphasized that the country remains firm and is working to combat this aggression.
We saw this past weekend, on Saturday and Sunday, even with the haste and the short time we had to organize ourselves to respond to that call, that the people took to the streets with their smile, with their strength, with their testimonies, because it was not simply a matter of signing a form and saying, "Here I am, with my body, with my soul, with my mind, to defend the homeland." They also took to the streets to strongly reject, as you know, dear brothers, comrades, vice ministers, also the Inspector General of the Armed Forces who are here with me today. They came out to reject with firm determination.
And Venezuela's Defense Minister Vladimir Padrino Lopez also described as false the media campaign against the Venezuelan people that seeks to destabilize the country.
And there, always, the counter-revolutionary media, making it look like the opposite. Always creating, always walking in their lies, in their fake news, in their manipulations. It's absurd. It's like what the North American imperialism is trying to do to us. The people of Venezuela, trying to fabricate a lie that has very, very short legs, and impose a criminal narrative on us. and position it throughout the world, and even on the people of Venezuela, so that they will believe that this is how the state functions. The Venezuelan state does not function as a narco-state. How grotesque, how vulgar, and how far we are from such a situation. We have to say this with great humility, but it is the reality.
And trade between Venezuela and Colombia reports growth in Venezuelan exports of up to 92%. Caracas trade with Bogota is notable for the exports of products such as iron and steel castings, fertilizers, aluminum, fuel, oils, and organic chemicals. Venezuela is promoting the diversification of its exports, incorporating new products and strengthening its international trade relations. And one of the key initiatives is the entry of the military industry into the export market. In this context, the director of the pro-Colombian agency, Carlos Luna, highlighted the need for the Colombian business sector to visit the sister nation in order to evaluate its industrial capacity, identify new business opportunities, and strengthen bilateral trade alliances. And in other news, on Wednesday, the governments of Mexico and Brazil strengthened bilateral cooperation as part of the action plan to mitigate the impact of tariffs imposed by the United States. During his official visit to Mexico, Brazilian Vice President Geraldo Alckmin celebrated the signing of two bilateral cooperation agreements, which are expected to generate new opportunities in several economic sectors. Among the agreements were a declaration of intent on biofuels and a deal with the Mexican Ministry of Economy to improve the effectiveness of relations between Mexican and Brazilian companies. Business leaders and authorities of both nations agreed that the current international situation that is characterized by trade tensions with the U.S. provides an exceptional opportunity to boost bilateral ties. And now we have a short break coming up, but first remember you can join us on TikTok at teleSUR English, where you will find news in different formats, news updates, and much more. We'll be right back. Stay with us. Welcome back from the South. We continue with more information. In the United States, the director of the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the CDC, Susan Monarez, was fired after less than a month in the job. The White House informed on Wednesday that Monarez's contract was terminated after she refused to resign amid pressure by the nation's top health official, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Her lawyers responded with a statement saying that Monarez was being targeted for protecting the public over serving a political agenda. Furthermore, they stressed that the decision evidences the systematic dismantling of public health institutions, the silencing of experts, and the dangerous politicization of science. Her departure coincided with the resignation of at least 4 top CDC officials amid tensions over vaccine policies and public health directives.
The risk-benefit associated. I appreciate the.
Also in the United States, a memorial has been set up outside a Catholic church in Minneapolis in the state of Minnesota for the victims of a shooting that killed 2 children and wounded 17 people on Wednesday. The shooting at the Annunciation Church, which also houses a school, took place just before 8:30 a.m. local time, when 23-year-old Robin Westman approached the outside of the church building and fired inside towards the children that were sitting in pews, taking his own life shortly afterwards. In the aftermath, 2 white crosses were placed at a growing memorial outside the church, covered in handwritten notes, while close by memorials showcase flowers, wreaths, candles, and teddy bears honoring the children. This was the 44th school shooting in the U.S. this year and the 4th deadly shooting that the city has reportedly experienced in 24 hours.
We've all felt the pain from the families, and We know that as a collective Minneapolis community, what we need to be doing right now is wrapping our arms around them. And what I feel right now is a city that stands up for one another, that does the right thing by their community, and that recognizes that right now, while thoughts and prayers are great, they are not adequate. These children were literally praying at this moment.
And in this context, let's look at the most recent statistics on gun violence in the United States, with thousands of fatalities, injuries, and incidents involving minors just in the last year. To date, 9,800 homicides or murders related to firearms have been recorded. The total number of injuries reached 17,906, including both injuries from assaults and unintentional incidents. There were also 286 mass shootings, in which 157 children have died and 337 were injured. On the other hand, 958 suspects died and 584 were injured in confrontations with the police. This data, compiled by multiple sources, reflect both the seriousness of the problem and the ongoing struggles to address it in a country where the debate on gun control remains heavily polarized. And former Puerto Rico Governor Wanda Vázquez Garcet pleaded guilty to a campaign finance violation in a federal case at a U.S. district court. Vázquez, who took office in 2019, acknowledged on Wednesday before federal judge Silvia Carreño Coll her responsibility for accepting campaign contributions from abroad for her 2020 political campaign. She was arrested in August of 2022 and initially accused of participating in a bribery scheme during her term. After 3 years of detention, Vázquez's defense attorney, Alex Piro, who is directly linked to U.S. President Donald Trump, took the case and secured a reduction in charges through a plea agreement with the U.S. Attorney's Office. The politician is scheduled to be sentenced on October 15th and has become Puerto Rico's first former governor to plead guilty to a crime. We move now to other topics. Amid a corruption scandal that has significantly affected its image, new audios revealed that Javier Milei's government admitted to have overpaid for medicines purchased by the National Disability Agency. These are the first results from the audit that the executive carried out over the National Disability Agency, or ANDIS, after removing its former chief, Diego Spagnuolo, for leaked accusations denouncing overpricing and bribes. According to the new data, payments made by the agency for one drug in particular were 27% higher than what the Ministry of Health usually pays for it. Despite the fact that the government has in this way admitted to the overpayment, Milei continues to insist on merely stating that everything that was said about the case were lies. And this is the context in which the Argentinian President Javier Milei was booed and rejected on Wednesday during his failed attempt to organize an electoral caravan south of Buenos Aires city in the municipality of Lomas de Zamora. The reaction against the president comes in the context of a scandal that is shaking the government in relation to bribe accusations involving the National Disability Agency. The ejection also takes place amid a strong political crisis of the government due to economic mismanagement, a growing recession that is hitting wide sectors of society, and repeated parliamentary defeats. And now we have a second short break coming up, but before, we invite you to visit our Facebook page at teleSUR English. There you will be able to watch our top stories, special live coverages, and much more. Follow our page and activate notifications to stay up to date on the world's most recent events. Final short break, don't go away. welcome back to From the South. We continue with more information. We go to the situation of the genocide on the Palestinian people as the United Nations warned that Gazan children continue to be deprived of their right to education since the escalation of the Israeli aggression of October of 2023. The Israeli genocidal operation in the Palestinian enclave has caused the destruction of Gaza's education and cultural infrastructure, which the international community and experts have been condemning for months as war crimes. In this context, the UN warned that Gazan children will miss out on school for the third consecutive year. The international organization demanded that the children's right to education, as well as to food and basic services blocked by the Israeli regime, needs to be protected. The organization reiterated the need to reopen schools in Gaza, given the threat that this poses to their education and future of the entire generation in the coastal enclave. In this context, we continue in Palestine as the Israeli army has intensified its operations around Gaza City, heavily bombing the area overnight on Wednesday. As part of its genocidal advances in the region, the Tel Aviv regime forces are seeking to take the capital of the Palestinian enclave with troops deployed in the city outskirts. In this context, the Gaza Civil Defense Agency reported that Zionist entity strikes have killed at least 38 people on Wednesday alone, including 16 in Gaza City. The military advances in the enclave are occurring while Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's administration faces growing internal and foreign pressure to end the onslaught in the Gaza Strip as a ceasefire proposal mediated by Egypt and Qatar remains on the table. And precisely in this regard, on Thursday, the foreign ministers of Qatar and Egypt informed that they are still waiting for Israel's response to the 60-day Gaza ceasefire proposal that has already been accepted by the Palestinian resistance movement Hamas.
Today, we reached a stage that we are waiting for a response from the Israeli side. After extensive efforts in the past days to reach a common ground to reach a deal to release hostages and detainees, as well as prisoners exchange, leading to a ceasefire to end war. However, unfortunately, these efforts have been met by more disregard. Despite all the negative opinions and lack of the positive response from the Israeli side towards our sincere efforts and the obstinacy of their stance, we will continue. We will keep on with our efforts and pressuring and contacting with the concerned regional and international parties to put complete pressure on the Israeli side till they accept this deal that is based according to the proposal of the U.S. envoy Steve Witkoff.
Faculty, students, and members of the Sana University in Yemen mobilized on Thursday in solidarity with the Palestinian people in the face of the ongoing genocide that is being perpetrated by Israel. The demonstration was attended by the deans of the faculties, professors, employees, and university rector Mohammad Al-Buhaiti. Carrying Palestinian flags and banners, the participants demanded an end to the Israeli occupation in the Gaza Strip. In addition, the university community condemned the world powers that are supporting Israel for being complicit in the Palestinian genocide. In this context, demonstrators praised the support of the Yemeni forces to the struggle, urging them to remain vigilant of threats to the lives of Palestinians in the occupied territories. And we continue now with other topics. In Pakistan, monsoon rains affected the eastern province of Punjab, forcing more than 200,000 residents to evacuate due to flooding. Local authorities reported rising water levels in the Chenab, Ravi, and Stelch rivers, so rescue teams continue to evacuate villages that are difficult to access. They also reported that to prevent the collapse of water facilities, they have detonated a sub-dam in Kandirabad to relieve pressure on the Chenab Dam. In this regard, the authorities declared that Pakistan is facing its worst season in decades, as 800 people have died since June due to floods and landslides.
Thousands of acres of crops were wasted, houses destroyed, and cattle killed. We pleaded to rescuers who went inside the Kartarpur corridor shrine to carry out rescue on the outside tomorrow. They carried out no rescue outside the shrine. Our public kept on getting ridiculed. Our children had no milk or anything to eat or drink. Our village is close to Kartarpur. It has been badly affected. Many homes were washed away and many people lost their cattle. Roads were also ruined. People were given no boat in the area. People are confined to their houses, and no facility was provided here.
And like this, we have come to the end of this news brief. You can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. Also join us on social media. We are on Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok as well. For TeleSUR English, my name is Belén de los Santos. Thank you for watching.